So up first we have Cleopatra and Caesar. When Cleopatra and Caesar met, Cleopatra was in her 20s, 21 to be exact, and Caesar was 52. But they were able to go into an affair, and their relationship would continue until Caesar was assassinated. They ended up having a son named Ptolemy Caesar, who was also known as Caesarion. Up next, we have the Pharaoh mentioned in Exodus in the Old Testament of the Bible. In the story of Moses, there is a Pharaoh who refused to let the people go. And it is hotly debated who this Pharaoh is, but many people are inclined to believe that it is Ramses II. The boy king Tutankhamun was found in 1922 by Howard Carter in the Valley of the Kings. He was famous for having over 4,000 treasures still there after thousands of years. It made him famous, but members of his team who found it suddenly started dying, coming up with the Curse of the Mummy. He also had a very famous death mask, which you might have seen multiple times on the internet or perhaps in real life. There's a theory that claims aliens are responsible for several ancient structures and items. I personally do not believe in aliens being responsible for this, but we will never truly understand everything history has to offer. The pyramids are no exception to this. Many people believe in the aliens made the pyramids. Ramses II, or Ramses the Great, lived a very long life on the throne. He is responsible for military prowess and incredible structures. He had so many children that many of his children already died by the time he died. He just reigned for so long. He brought power to Egypt. He made Egypt stronger and happier. Within the tomb of Tutankhamun, they found a dagger, which is believed to be made of iron from meteorites. Two to be exact. There are more items which are believed to have some kind of meteorite material in it as well. DB320, or the Royal Cache, contains an extraordinary collection of funeral equipment and kings, queens, priests, and pharaohs mummified on the site. There are 118 pyramids in Egypt, the oldest being the Step Pyramid of Djoser, and the famous three in Giza were made by Khufu, his son Khafre, and his grandson Menkure. The Battle of Megiddo was fought in the 15th century BC between Thutmose III and Canaanite vassal states rebelling against him. After several surprise attacks, they fled to the fortress, where a long siege happened, and Thutmose was declared the victorious winner of the battle. Rogue obelisks. Unfortunately, I literally have no idea what this is. I looked it up a few times and received pretty much no results, so I'm afraid I'll just have to skip this one. Zenanza was a prince of the Hittite Empire's king. He was sent to go marry the recently widowed queen of Egypt, and he nearly became pharaoh, but on the way he mysteriously died, and the Hittites were really angry at Egypt for their heir dying, so it resulted in warfare, and eventually they brought a bunch of diseased individuals, which caused an epidemic. The Diary of Meru is a 4,500-year-old papyrus, which lists the daily activities of Meru and his crew. The most well-preserved sections of this diary document the transportation of limestone blocks from quarries to Giza via boat travel. These Minoan frescoes show interesting scenes, but archaeologists believe it shows that they indicate an involvement of Egypt in international relations through gifts, marriage, and other things with Eastern Mediterranean kingdoms. Manetho was an ancient Egyptian priest and he was a historian. He lived during the Ptolemaic era of Egypt. He wrote the History of Egypt, and his book is still used by Egyptologists today to pin dates on different time periods throughout Egypt. Ma'at was the goddess of truth, justice, balance, and order. In paintings and murals, she's depicted as a female individual who has ostrich wings, sometimes, but most definitely has a feather in her hair. The Meneptah stele, also known as the Israel stele, shows an inscription mentioning a victory over ancient Libyans and allies. It also mentions a separate campaign in Canaan. Ginger is a nickname given to a mummy, one of the most best preserved in Egypt. Buried around 3500 BC, he was found in 1896 in a crouched position in a pit. Direct contact with the hot sand naturally mummified his body. Nectanebo II was the father of Alexander the Great. How? While Philip was away on a campaign, Nectanebo convinced Philip's wife Olympias that Amun was to come to her and they would have a son. Nectanebo, disguising himself as Amun, slept with her and from this event brought Alexander. And that brings us to the end of the first episode of the Ancient Egyptian Iceberg. Like and subscribe for more, and I'll be seeing you soon.